I tell people all the time my favorite story. I was A&R, and I had a tight recording budget. We had $1,500 to record a song and shoot a music video. And the artist that I was working with totally ignored my directions and bought this $900 bra.
A $900 what?
Bra.
Bra?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's the whole budget gone right there.
It was. And we were in Miami, and she got this $900 bra, and I'm like,
the video's the whole bra now.
Listen, I was like,
I'm like diamonds in the damn thing or what? That's ridiculous.
I mean, it was, it had some rhinestones and seashells.
Some Dior.
I didn't think it should be $900 personally. I didn't think it should.
Yeah.
And I had to go back to England and explain to my boss and the board of directors I'd never met before why this happened.
Because it was like the outfit. It was like a budget for the outfit.
No, it was a budget for the whole project.
But she spent that but that was for the outfit.
On the bra.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
It's ridiculous.
Yes.
Is there
and like my boss at the time was from Australia, and so like if you can imagine like Crocodile Dundee yelling at you about a $900 bra, where's the bra? My lady was like, you should have just taken that when it was over, just brought it back. I was like, yeah,
this is the company's now.
Yeah, I should have, but
crazy.
That's to me, like those kinds of things happened in the recording space, and they were always off the wall, always crazy. So it prepares me for the kind of tame insanity that you see in the tech space where everybody's freaking out. I'm like, it's not a $900 bra. So I don't know what you're tripping about.
Well, hopefully those are two L's right there, but two L's make a W, right?
They do. I actually said I might make a movie.
You took something away from both of those experiences.
I did. I actually said I might have the team make a movie about that.
Oh, so that's a good idea.
I might.
See more value coming.
Yeah, I might.
Exactly.
Yes.
If you want to stop and take a break, or if you want to rephrase an answer, perfectly fine. Just like,
and we edit them too. So if you say something, you're like, "Oh, I don't want to get canceled. Edit that out." I got you.
Yeah.
No, that's cool. I mean, I'm all for making enemies.
So I know. So we met at
Pick your enemies wisely.
G Beta Incubator here in Huntsville. What have you been doing since then?
A lot.
I bet.
I mean, that's really the only way I can really explain it. The team is growing. When we started G Beta in what was that, February, I believe it was. It was myself and 3 other people. Now I have 7 full-time people. We have 6 interns. Shout out to the interns who represent, in my mind, almost every corner of the globe. I mean, our furthest intern is in Tokyo.
Oh, wow.
So we have interns in Kenya right now. We have interns in Rio, Brazil.
Singapore too, right?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
So we, we're trying to grow responsibly, but we're trying to grow aggressively. And it's something that I get on the team about weekly. I'm like, all right, guys, like, listen, what we're doing hasn't been done before. The angle that we're taking hasn't been taken before. Ergo, we need to hit it hard and fast. Everything needs to be hard and fast. Try to be as accurate as possible. But if you're not accurate, that's cool. We're doing something different. We're not going to hit home runs every time.
Yeah.
That's
and it's
awesome.
like you're like pave. If you're making a new thing, you almost don't have any prior things to look back and be like, how do we model this? If you're making a whole new model,
the funny thing is, and people laugh when I say this, I originally wanted a record label. That was my original thing. I had been in the music business and in pretty much every facet, recording side, licensing side, even most recently being in the emerging tech space and metaverse, and gaming. And I wanted a label, but the more I thought about it, it wasn't enough. The truth of the matter is, and a lot of creatives hate to hear this, you can make whatever you want to make.
True.
It could be great, it could be, Francis Ford Coppola level, whatever. If no one platforms it, no one sees it.
True.
So for the creator of tomorrow, and for my sanity as someone that is now both a founder, CEO, but also still very much tied to the creative aspect of music and film. I'm a creative myself. It only made sense to create a platform, and it made even more sense when you consider the platforms that exist now aren't really created for creatives. You know, just think about it.
Yeah.
What kind of lunatic makes a platform and says, you know what? You did all this work, you know, you got the album cover made, you know, you paid all this money to mix and master. I'm going to give you 0.0000064 cents. It's not even a whole penny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's nuts. So honestly, the bedrock of Invictus is that we're going to treat creatives fairly. And it starts with that compensation model. We're committed to paying creatives what essentially amounts to a living wage. 2 cents per audio stream, 5 cents per video stream, period.
Yeah, that's amazing.
You know what I mean? So, and of course that means that we have to be very judicious, obviously from a quality standpoint, about who comes in and, you know, what goes on the platform. Yeah. But outside of that, you know, we really want to streamline the process, make it as easy as possible for creatives to do what they do, create great art. And the end game for them is, you know, maybe we'll have someone afford a Bentley Bottega one day. That'd be great. That'd be amazing marketing, right? But when I cut through it, I just want creatives to be able to do what it is they want to do wholeheartedly. I want it to be their job. Yeah. You know, my fighting motto to my team weekly is we're aiming to kill the myth of the starving artist.
I love that.
You know, and so it doesn't have to be like, oh, I got my check and now I can go buy a house. Like, that's great. But I would just like, hey man, I can afford, I don't care how much groceries are. Yeah. I can afford groceries.
Yeah.
You know, hey, I broke my arm. I can afford a medical emergency. Yeah. Like, oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to What's Next Huntsville Season 2. Today we've got a young professional, Jordan, in. And to give a little bit of background, and not rephrasing exactly what you just said, but Invictus is essentially a platform that helps support artists, and it helps get them paid in a better structure and compensation size than most of the other available platforms.
Yeah, I mean, we, in the simplest terms, we are what happens when social media and a fully powered DSP has a baby, right? We want to be able to create that one-to-one interaction between users, fans, and creatives. We want to be able to give users as much quality content that they actually want to see or hear or engage with. Because Lord knows we all spend too much time trying to, like, man, it's nothing to watch. Like, what's on here? I'm paying $30 a month. I don't know what to watch. But we all spend enough time trying to figure out what to watch. So part of what we do on the back end is fine tune the experience for the users. But for creatives, we want to create that one-to-one between them and their fan base or potential fans. And honestly, frankly, it allows unfiltered feedback on what it is you're doing. You can't pay someone, and not saying that anyone does this, wink, but you can't pay anyone to say, oh, this is the greatest thing of all time. Right. Like, if you put something up, if you put up an audio book and it's terrible, these users are going to be able to leave a 10-second review after that clip previews and say, hey, listen, I listened to this and this was awful. Like, this person doesn't know what they're doing. Or they can say, oh, this is the greatest thing of all time. And so really this means that as a creative, you have to bring your A game every time.
I know you're kind of breaking the industry with, you know, the compensation package, but also on the user, like, viewing side, user side, I know you talked about, so it's almost like, can you still search and look people up, or is it purely like I'm watching Dylan's video, but now I get recommended more things like that?
So it's funny you should ask that. So at launch, it's purely user base. Like our algorithm is going to, kind of recommend things based off of some previous questions that you answer. And then our machine learning is going to basically pinpoint what it is you want to see. And funny enough, I actually got this idea from a position that I had. There's sales software that can create a user profile essentially for advertisers, 99.9% accuracy.
Scary. No, they know who you are, where you live, everything about you.
Everything you might want, But it's never been used in a media setting. It's always used for sales.
Yeah.
I said, well, what if we take a similar premise and use that so that users, instead of having to take time and let me scroll and figure out we could just feed you what we know you'll like, or what mathematically we believe you'll like.
Yeah.
And so that way we could just cut through the noise. But we will have a subscription tier for people that do want to just go through and just kind of have more free will in that way. So so that'll more than likely come about a year after we get out of beta, obviously.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, that's coming. That's coming.
So cool. So right now you mentioned you're in sort of a beta phase right now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So we're still working on trying to perfect, in my mind, was version 1 of the app. And the funny thing is, I'm such a perfectionist. The team would come to me and they say, "Hey, Jordan, we did such and such." I'm like, "All right, great. What's next?" They're like, "What do you mean, what's next? We've been working on this for So I'm trying to get better at it. But in my mind, I have the vision, and I'm just steadfast with it. And I want to get to the end point as quickly as possible. And that's knowing that we're always going to be updating and adding features, obviously. But for me, that intersection of, okay, we're 88% done, so we can kind of shift some resources to some other aspects of what it is that we're doing at INVIKTUS, because we're also a content house ourselves. So we create content. We've shot. I can't say who. I can't say who yet, but we've shot commercials for some very big commercial brands. We've shot ad spots for a very well-known mental health company.
Cool.
A West Coast-based clothing brand. We've got original content series.
Wow.
We've got. We have an album that we're putting out from a Grammy-nominated artist.
So it's almost like Netflix originals, but it's going to be INVIKTUS originals. It's
to the next level. I think of it more along the lines of maybe Apple, in the sense of where Apple has its originals on the film content side as well as the audio side.
Okay.
But we're media agnostic. So from our angle, when people ask, I say we do audio and video content. They're like, "Well, what's that mean?" I'm like, "Well, it could mean a movie, it could mean an audiobook, it could mean an album, it could mean a podcast, it could mean, a comic, a cartoon, right?" We don't want to stifle the options of creativity, but we do have a set standard of quality that we expect, and in that way, we're running it a bit like a library. So we're currently taking waitlist signups right now. So anybody feels like they have high quality audio or video based content, I don't care if it's a podcast, comic book, film series, movies, what have you. If you're a film studio, if you're an independent creator, doesn't matter. You can go sign up on the wait list.
And we'll have everything linked below.
For sure. So when we kick it off, we'll have you guys, and like I said, the beauty is we're gonna have direct upload, so you're not gonna have to go through someone like a TuneCore or Film Hub or anything. We're gonna have direct upload. Now it might not make it if the quality isn't right. It might not make it. But we want to keep as much of the power in your hands as possible.
So do you have an algorithm that can test for quality or something? Are you going to be doing this by hand?
You know what's funny? No, we're doing it by hand.
Wow. No way. So you're vetting every piece of content? How do you have, I mean, I know you have a team, but how do you do that?
I've literally written the manual for right now we have an internship team. We have a director of audio and video content. So I wrote 2 separate manuals for both of those sides. We obviously have more people on the audio side since audio content is easier to upload. But literally, it is a 12-page book that I've written based off of my experience having run a successful library. In my time, on an easy day, I probably get maybe 300-400 submissions a day.
Wow.
And so we're expecting that, especially since we're part of what we're looking to do is we're going to pay fairly across geography. No matter where you are in the world, you're going to make American dollars. You know what I mean? And so we're expecting a high volume of content incoming. So I tell the team, I say, listen, you guys think this is something, just you wait until we start, really getting into these other markets in earnest. It's going to be something.
Oh, yeah.
Is that why you're kind of, sorry, go ahead. I was just saying, is that why you're kind of having ambassadors in these different places to kind of grow there?
Yes. So, there are obviously some legal hurdles when it comes to entering certain markets with certain media options. But the way I see it is, we're
censorship.
Yeah, but we're a startup. We're supposed to rock the boat and kind of kick the old guard in the knee, and so that's what I'm doing. Yeah. By being able to get into those markets early and kind of cultivate those relationships and really show creatives that I'm there for them, their sustenance, and to pay the requisite respect to whichever individual cultural standards there are in the area. That's what matters. The legal stuff's the legal stuff. That's checks and conversations. But to really kind of endear yourself to the people, that's really what I wanted to do out the gate. So that's what we're working on.
That's amazing. So let's rewind a little bit. You mentioned the library and how that kind of gave you a base for being able to build what you're building now. But what was it, those first few things that the vision started coming into play? The initial founding aspects.
Yeah.
Oh man. So in my mind, I've always felt like I was somewhere to learn something and to move on.
Yeah.
That's kind of been the story of my career. I mean, I've done some cool things. I was one of the driving forces to bring Motown into the metaverse space.
Cool. We could have another conversation.
I know. That's totally off the wall.
Yeah, I did, man. Shout out to Stinger. But it was I was the head of music partnerships there. Cool. We Teflon Sega is one of the foremost metaverse artists and personalities in the world. Signed him to a 3-show deal when I was at Wave, and that never happened before. The company had never done multi-show deals, and Teflon had never done shows before.
Yeah.
So shout out to Teflon, but made that happen. Worked in England. I signed 18 artists to 360 deals in 60 days.
What?
Which is unheard of, right?
You probably had 50 meetings that one trip.
Listen, I tell people that speaks to kind of my reputation, and the fact that creatives trust me to not cheat them.
Yeah.
Even in a situation where you're signed to 360, it's like, you know what? Jordan signed me to that deal. He's not going to, and that's something I've worked years to develop. And so the genesis of INVIKTUS, like I said, started out in my mind as a label. I'm a music guy through and through, musician myself. I always had an ear for music. My literal first words were James Brown lyrics. And so
that's hilarious.
So I've always had a heart for it. And but just kind of when I started going over my journey just over the years in A&R and licensing and in the tech space, I saw things that worked. But for whatever reason, people didn't want to capitalize on them. And then I saw the things that didn't work, and people wanted to double down on those because it's almost like if I double down, they'll work.
Yeah.
And I just said to myself, well, what if I took facets and aspects of those different areas and put them under one house? I'm a big fan of one-stop shop kind of model. And so at that point, I was just kicking around ideas and just kind of how to combine these things under one roof.
So it was sort of being in the market and then finding where that hole is.
Yeah, I mean, it's not hard to see who the villains are in the space. People hate Spotify. Yeah. For good reason. I mean, if I'm the world's largest audio streamer.
You make the rules
with 100 million tracks, but I just wake up on a Thursday and say, you know what? I'm going to demonetize 60 million of my 100 million tracks because I feel like it. I'm already paying you less than a penny. Yeah. That's nuts, right? Yeah. And on the film side, right? I mean, Amazon Prime pays 1 cent per hour. Mm-hmm. That's insane.
That's crazy.
So in my mind, I said, well, listen, I know creatives hate the platforms. There have been surveys that show that users hate the platforms. Mm-hmm. So what that tells me is that there's room for a new solution. On top of the fact that the numbers show, I mean, again, not to pick on Spotify, but they're an easy target. They're the world's largest audio streamer. I think they only have like 27% market share or something like that.
Really?
One of my biggest questions when I ask people when I pitch is who's the largest streamer in Africa? People are like, oh, it's YouTube or it's Netflix, it's Spotify. I'm like, no, it's Boomplay. And they're like, who? Exactly. Mm-hmm. Who? Yeah. Which means that there's room for other players to come into space and really make it their own, because the current system isn't set up to benefit creatives. Ergo, the current system isn't set up to capture those markets. Yeah.
So what is, going into a little bit of the nitty gritty, how does your model differentiate from, let's say, Spotify? Like, we all know Spotify got the money. Yeah. So could they pay these people what you're paying them, or is it like they just have a deal with the sponsors differently, or how are you doing it?
So they could, but they don't want to.
Mm-hmm. It's more money for the execs.
It's more money for the execs, and also the three major music companies are investors in Spotify. Why would they want that? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? On top of the fact that, again, anybody can get on Spotify. Right. So under a model where we could take this conversation and put it on Spotify right now, who's to say, respectfully, that a piece of music that's on there is worth being paid for? Mm-hmm. You have people on there that,
but it's by views, right?
Well,
like you can kind of judge it.
But you see but you got to feel me what I'm saying. Like, there were people, admittedly, that were gaming the system. They would go in there and they'd be blowing into a microphone and put an album cover up there as if it's ambient music. It's not. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you have things like that. But really, it's a twofold issue. They don't want to, and they can't. They can't because who's invested into them, who's controlling them, and they don't want to because it's more money for them. Mm-hmm. The way I see it is, and the way I've always operated in the music business and media space and in my relationships, you don't have to be selfish. You know what I mean? There's enough money and opportunity to where I could pay someone fairly and still be compensated fairly myself. Yeah. INVIKTUS, the company, can still be wildly successful and not feel like we have to cut the legs out from under our talent or our users in that way. So we operate using a hybrid ad model, cost per view, cost per mil, cost per click. That's our main baby, which is why we're very much about making sure that we have the right quality level of content, the right kind of creators that are going to fully engage with the product. So that way we can get more users on there. The more users we have, the more we can charge on the back end, on the ad side, and so on and so forth.
Got it. So the back end is fully sponsored kind of ads and that sort of thing?
Yeah, I mean, and it serves us because we do have an international eye in the way that we want to grow our user base. We're not just focused on, stateside or what have you. Given the exchange rate, it would be criminal for me to ask someone in Nigeria, for instance, to pay $8 a month when I know $1 equals, I think last I checked, it was like 3,200 Nigerian naira.
Wow.
Like that's, you know what I mean? Different. And so from a creator standpoint, if you're a creator in Nigeria or Brazil or honestly most places, if you come to Invictus, we can literally change your life. You know what I mean? $1,000, $2,000. You know, we can change things for those folks. But on the user side, I don't want to have to ask them to, you know, like, hey, do you want to eat or do you want to pay this subscription fee?
But you do have that subscription model.
We do have the subscription model, mainly because I know folks in the US, folks in the UK, we don't like ads. Mm-hmm. I'll pay for an ad-free model of something quickly because I don't have the time or the patience for the ads. Mm-hmm. But if, you know, since we do want to get users from all over the world on the platform, I don't want to, you know, come out the gate and bust them over the head like, hey, pay me $8 US. Yeah. Even though our dollar is 400 times your money, you know, like, no, that's just, nah.
So on the sponsor side, this is something that we're working on with another venture right now, is really structuring those deals and structuring those combos. What is like the sponsors deliverable? Like what would make them want to sponsor you guys besides the mission?
So, funny enough, when I started G-Beta,
you had the end with some of these sponsors.
When I started G-Beta, we didn't have any independent brands. When I ended G-Beta, we had 8 letters of intent from independent brands like vodka brands, a video game studio, a banking app. You know, some really, really cool folks. Mm-hmm. But on top of that, I had relationships with some bigger brands, and really all they care about is the eyes, right? They want to know that, hey, listen, if we're paying this rate consistently, how many users on your platform for how long? Yeah. Are they clicking? Are they looking through the whole thing? And so it's a bit of a tough conversation initially because we didn't have a wait list, you know. But now, given who we have on the wait list, we're able to kind of give a ballpark launch figure on how many users are going to migrate over to the platform because we have this person, this person, this person, this person on there. If when we launch publicly, we'll easily have over 200,000 users on the platform.
That's crazy.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
What is it like? What is the main, I guess, the thing to get out of the way that is that cap? Like, because we're looking at like our different models and we're thinking, okay, the most amount of members that we can support like easily is like 2,000, and we're, you know, projecting 4 years we're going to be at that point.
Yeah.
And you know what you said before, I think is very common with certain founders. There's certain young founders that are like, we have to move fast. We have to get this done. And there's others that are like, I want to make sure that this is perfect before I even like get this out into the market. And what you're doing is you're doing both of those.
Yeah.
Because you are a perfectionist. Yeah. And it's a reoccurring topic that I speak about every episode, is that you just have to like start. You know, you have to like, you had the idea, you got some people together, you worked on it, you built it to what it is today, and you did start from a good position with knowledge of the industry and everything. Oh, yeah. But it's like, you know, use that to your advantage. Use what knowledge you already have into creating something new. Yeah. And I have a question I want to ask for you, but can you check and make sure these are good here? Come and be.
Answer my question first.
Did you?
One that I asked.
My bad. My fault. I didn't know it was a question.
Yeah, no. I asked, what is the thing that gets you like breaks that cap when it comes to being able to support a large group like 200,000?
So, I'm in a bit of a. In my mind, I'm in a bit of an advantageous position with Invictus because we are essentially a hybrid social media app and a media streamer, content streamer, DSP, basically. So we've built Invictus from jump with the assumption that we're going to grow quickly. 2,000. If my team came to me like, hey, we can hold 2,000 people, I'd be like, nah, bro, go back. We need more people. We need more space, because I don't want to inherently cap how many folks we can hold. Now, granted, you do have things like server side restrictions, things like that, where you do have to take those into consideration. How I, at least early in the process, rationalized being able to go hard, though, was before I even had a sketch for the app, I was talking to people to make sure, like, hey, listen, if we have to, whatever I need to do, whatever I have to pay, whatever relationships, what do we have to do? I had to barter. This is a true story. I had to barter 2 commercials to get my server space.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I had to call a friend of mine and basically like, hey, listen, man, I need an IOU. Use those relationships.
Yeah.
I need an IOU. I need you to shoot these commercials. One of the commercials is in Cantonese. It's the worst Cantonese of all time. It's in Cantonese to get the server side space so that when we do grow and when we onboard these artists, we can have no space for the content. We can have no space for the users during our beta stage. Yeah. And so that was something that, I'd heard other founders kind of lament, having worked at other audio-based DSPs. It was an issue there. And I said, well, listen, I don't want to have these conversations when we're up and running and, we're kind of setting the standards. I don't want to go back and have to have a conversation about we don't have enough space for everyone. Right. So that was something I was very mindful of. I would recommend anyone that's considering a similar kind of endeavor to look at offshore options. I can't say too much more than that, but look at offshore options. In that way, you'll get more bang for your buck, and even then, you'll get people that are just coming online that have the space but want the action on your end. Then maybe you guys can barter a situation like we did.
Cool.
Gotcha. I think you were about to ask about deliverable, like for the customers, the platform or something.
No. I was just gonna ask a question. You kind of gave a little bit of a game right there. What is some game you can tell some people that want to be successful like you?
Listen, wait, where's the camera? Let me look at the camera.
This one.
Don't be afraid to look stupid. Okay? You're not too cool to be stupid. Either you want to be successful or you don't want to look stupid. You can't have both. You're going to have moments where you don't know something. You're going to have moments where things are going to go left. You're going to have moments where you're not the smartest person in the room. If you are the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong rooms.
Get out of it. Yeah.
You're in the wrong rooms. I find often that people are supremely talented, but they just don't have the faith in themselves.
Yeah.
And if they do have the faith in themselves, they're afraid to look crazy. Right. Listen, when I did my pitch at Generator, I'm an introvert. I'm an introvert's introvert.
You don't seem like it.
I am. Anybody that knows me knows I am. I did not want to go on that stage. I was praying that the mic would go dead. Like I didn't want to do it.
You did good.
Well, listen, I appreciate it. I made the whole thing up. I was going off the top of my head.
That's
all the
crazy.
Numbers, because when the lights are on, it's like a switch flips for me, and it's almost like it's weird. I have a split personality or something. I just jump into the mode,
into CEO mode.
Jump into it and get it on. And then when the lights go off, it's like, man, that was rough. Let me go home and go to sleep for 2 days. You know what I mean? But you can't be afraid. You really have to just start. Like, I know that sounds cliche. You really have to just start. I just had the idea for Invictus. I've changed my idea 15, 20 times. Just tweaked it, little things. You want to keep notes. You want to write down, like, Monday at this time, here's my idea. Here's the people I know that might be able to help me. Here are some resources. Don't be afraid to ask for help too. That's another one. That's a big one. Don't be afraid to ask for help. No one ever makes it to the top by themselves.
That's true.
And always keep your relationships, your personal relationships strong, because no one will tell you, but this is a very lonely road. You're responsible for everything. You're solely responsible for the success or failure of your endeavor. everybody's riding on you, most people aren't going to understand what that feels like. You know what I mean? And so you want to keep your support system solid, because if not, you're going to crack. So those would be my big ones. That's and don't do bad business. Always keep your word. And if you can't keep your word, let people know ahead of time. Never do bad business.
Yeah, agreed. That's
good advice.
That's really good advice. And it's so funny because, like, you know, my process, I agree with you. Organization is key. Know what you're doing. Know why you're doing it. Know what the vision is. Know all of these different questions about your plans, your strategies.
Yeah, you do a good job of that.
I try my best. But so for you, I mean, this vision is amazing. If you were to put it into, like, you know, 1 or 2 sentences, what would be your way that you describe the vision, like, to an investor coming to you or something?
You said 1 or 2 sentences?
Yeah. If it's not possible, it's okay.
I mean, you can, like an elevator pitch.
This is Invictus is a creative paradigm shift. Mm-hmm. We're putting the power in the hands of creatives for the first time in history. Why wouldn't you want to be a part of that?
That sounds fire.
Perfect.
You know,
that's amazing.
And the funny thing is, you know, I tell people, as big of an idea as this seems, this isn't even the full concept for Invictus. Like, Invictus in and of itself is going to be a lifestyle brand. And I don't mean that in like, oh, we're going to make T-shirts or anything. I mean, you could buy a T-shirt. You could buy one if you want to. But that's not what I mean. I mean, I have a vision of the way that we're taking care of creatives. I want to be able to take care of the communities these creatives come from, right? If I had it my way, you know, if you're a creative in Kenya, then, you know, you might be walking down the street on Invictus, going to an Invictus grocery store, you know, wearing, you know, an Invictus.
Reinvest in the community.
You know,
definitely not for tax deductions.
No,
for the betterment
definitely
of
not for tax
society.
Deductions. I'm not going to turn them down, but but I mean, you know,
you're going to leave money on the table.
I mean, no, I mean, because we're just going to recycle it into the business and the community anyway. You know,
and that's what you need to do in order to create, you know, to sustain and really build up that vision. Yeah. So when we're speaking about this specific vision, like we spoke about, like, the beta phase that you're in right now, your first launch. When is that going to be, and how many? What is the main goals, missions behind that?
So we're aiming for roughly Halloween, top of November.
This year. Mm-hmm. Okay, then we'll try to push your episode up because we want to get your episode out before this happens, so we can, you know, maybe anybody on our end that hasn't heard about it can check you out.
For sure. I mean, we're very aggressive with the date. I mean, and my engineers hate me right now. Shout out to you guys.
I'm sure they do.
It's like, oh man, here he comes with another message. But you know, really, it's just time is of the essence. You know, I want to be able to not only get to market in a time frame that makes sense, but to be able to, again, make mistakes in the space, because I know that everything I think might work might not. Things that translate here might not translate other places, and so we might have to create different iterations for different areas, different things. So I'm excited to get in the market and really hit the pavement and see what's what, because I know the core of what it is we're about is going to work. I know that much. But, you know, making sure we have the right features, making sure we're creating the right synergy between users and creatives and the different pieces of content. Those things matter to me. And again, that's where the perfectionist hat comes in. I'm very meticulous about details. You know, my team will tell you, you know, I'm good for jumping on the Slack channel on a Sunday. Like, hey guys, what is this? And they're like, come on, man. I'm at church. Like, me too,
boss.
I'm at church too. Like, you know, what's your excuse? I'm working from church. You know, do you want this or not? You know what I mean? So, so that's where that comes in. But the vision is big, and it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of risk. Yeah. But we're built for it, so.
Man, I'm excited to see where this goes.
I know when I heard about it originally at the incubator showcase, I thought it was super cool. I told him, I was like, I went because I wanted to support Tristan and his business, which we actually had him on earlier.
Tristan's my guy, man. Shout out to Tristan.
Yeah, so you'll be able to check his episode out this season as well. And I got connected in with Jordan, and I was like, man, it's like we all anybody that's wanting to be an entrepreneur, we all have different ideas. And, just hearing, for like a social media app or like just like a tech app or, it's helping creators and all these things. And I'm like, whoa, I want to know more. Yeah, let's connect. And now, I feel bad because we kind of prolonged this podcast, but I'm glad we got to make it happen.
Absolutely. No, I mean, listen, man, what you guys do, in the way that you guys do it, my thing is, I feel like the world needs to see it, and I don't mean like in a corny way, like, oh, let's just put it on YouTube and hope for the best. Like no, I mean, like I said, my vision for INVIKTUS, the app is the foot in the door. I had it my way. I do have it my way. We'll have TV stations, we'll have radio stations. We'll own broadband space. Like I believe. Not to go, into the rabbit hole or anything. Mm-hmm. I believe that we're headed more as a society more towards technocracies than ever before, and so in that way, I want to have a technocracy of and for the people.
Yeah. What's that? Explain that. I don't know. I'm dumb.
Basically, essentially, where tech companies will essentially run the governments.
Oh, yeah.
I mean?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, they already do by lobbying.
They do,
shit.
But people don't want to admit it. But I think it'll be more obvious. Yeah. Now they're behind the scene. Eventually, Google's gonna be like, you know what? We're electing the president because we're Google and we feel like it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like the big four tech company, the big 4 trillion companies. That, but diversified.
Basically,
for different communities.
You got to get INVIKTUS in there. You got to be pulling some strings.
And so that's my idea. To have this global. And I know when you say this, people are like, man, for real, to have this global, multi-tiered, multinational tech company that, nobody does everything right, obviously. But as much as we can pick up the slack and make lives better for the communities in which we exist in, that's really what we want to do.
Man, that's amazing.
We like that mission.
Wish you luck.
And I appreciate it. And Huntsville's like a second home, for me. I love it here. I'm a Bama grad, Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
And so Huntsville has always shown me so much love every time I've been here. And now having graduated from the accelerator, I was just telling my lady, I said, I've been looking at some places here, you know what I mean? And so Huntsville is such an amazing community. It's a very creative community. Quietly, the people don't know that more people need to know about. And so, INVIKTUS loves Huntsville, and anything we can do to big up and support Huntsville, we're 100% behind it.
Oh yeah,
that's awesome. I do. I have like 1 or 2 more questions
because
I know time.
No. Listen,
always running out.
We've got
a busy
as much time
man.
as you want.
So you talked a little bit earlier about all these things you're doing right. What do you have a story or time where something went left? Something went wrong?
Man, do I? So I'm not a technical founder. Engineering, app design, wasn't my forte.
But you got to understand it somewhat.
I do. Well, I do now. I do now. But initially I just, I said, well, how hard could it be to have an app made, right? So I went on Upwork.
It's easier today.
It is easier today, but there are some considerations to be made, especially when you're making something that ostensibly doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So I went on Upwork and I said, well, I'll just pay someone to do it.
Oh, that'll cost you not a lot of money at all.
Listen, not only did the product that I get back looked janky.
Yeah.
It was like somebody copied Netflix and added like a random streaming API to it. It was terrible. Not only did that happen, he sold that concept to someone else with my name on it.
Oh, wow.
With the name on it.
Oh.
And I couldn't get my money back. And I was arguing with Upwork for at least 3-4 weeks up until January to something. Give me my money back, do something.
Yeah.
And it was a lesson learned, and that guy ripped me off.
Yeah.
But then I said, well, that's my fault because there's no way to cheat the progress. You know what I mean? Like you can't jump ahead where you're supposed to be. So I just had to charge that to the game and charge that to my credit card. And
Part of the learning lesson. Well, Jordan, everything you're doing is so cool, and we can't wait to see what else is coming from you. And definitely get involved. I want to set up some time to talk about us getting on the platform. That'd be great, or go through the application process.
Man, listen, it's very straightforward. Just your name, social media links, maybe an example of your work. Yeah. There's a waiting list. Some people don't have to wait because I know them, but obviously, so you guys, will go straight in as soon as the app launches. But it's a straightforward process, man. I'm not trying to make it difficult for anyone. Yeah. Everybody's not going to make it.
Yep.
I just want to. I want to stress this. Everybody's not going to make it. We do have to make a profit on our end. We're trying to launch as much in the green as possible. So we do have some hard numbers, as far as how many creatives get on. But we'll be staggering intake and letting people in as we kind of move on. And if you don't make it, just try again in 4 months, 4 to 6 months.
Yeah. I love it. Well, that's what we're trying to do. More better.
Yeah,
again.
More better. More and better.
More and
but
more is not always better.
This has been an awesome conversation. Really appreciate having you on, and thank you for giving us the time.
I appreciate y'all for having me. This has been great.
Absolutely. I know. I wish we could talk longer. It's just like these. It's already been literally 50 minutes, and
a minute ago.
We have more podcasts to do. It's just. We wish you nothing but success.
Absolutely.
We'd love to catch up with you later on, but also maybe have you back on in a future season to see maybe after launch, see how things are going, and catch back up then. But
sounds good. I'm all for it. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. Good deal.
Thank you very much again, and you guys can
check out everything
down below. And we'll have another convo coming soon. So appreciate you guys for checking in. And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
Peace. Sweet.
Awesome.